the first bans in chat. We'll see what they come down to. Almost undoubtedly, Anivia will get banned against Froggen one more time.
Yeah, not very surprising. Kind of a standard ban at this point. Just go ahead and get that Anivia out of there. It's not worth the hassle. You can certainly do things that are very active, very progressive against that Anivia. Try to counter a strategy that you think he's likely to go, but at the end of the day, it's just so much work to actually counter his Anivia, and if you don't, you're in a very, very bad position, so just go ahead and ban it out.
Yeah, I forget who it was. It might have been M5 that decided to run Cassidy against Anivia. Cassidy, of course, one of those people that generally counters Anivia, can silence Anivia, which will, force her ultimate to shut down, and will also stop her ability to explode her Q, her Flash Frost. So that is a really good counter, and of course he can also jump around, jump over the walls. But we saw Froggen just go with an AD rune page and completely stomp the lane, just using auto attacks instead. So there's no real great way to counter Froggen. So we do see the Anivia ban, and we see a Veigar ban that is targeted against Nijaki, who kind of popularized the Veigar picks. Really, really stellar at playing Veigar, and no one lets him play him anymore, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, definitely one of the most entertaining things to watch. I love watching people play kind of their signature champions. I know a lot of people do, but it's just very entertaining. Of course, yeah, we should probably point out that I think that what's happening right now is that CLG.EU is using CLG.NA accounts, right?
Yes, that is accurate. So it is Snoopy. That is actually his own account, EU Jungle Smurf, but everyone else is taking the CLG account of the person in the same role as them. So Crepo is Chowster playing the support role, Big Fat LP is Froggen playing AP, so on and so forth. So that is confusion. They're not trolling. This isn't CLG.NA. This is CLG.EU playing on CLG.NA accounts, and we are loaded into the game.
Yeah, definitely excited to see what kind of picks and bans we see here. Of course, keep in mind, we do have both Veigar and Anivia banned from the start in the lobby. Immediate bans on that Ahri and the Ryze. Looks like we're having a lot of mid bans right off the bat here.
Yeah, and that's not too surprising, as both of the mid players are very well known, very dominant. We also see a Maokai ban, so Curse must have been watching the previous game, because Ahri was very, very effective, almost picking up that pentakill for Froggen. Maokai, of course, a really great jungler, and Snoopy has proven to be very effective with him, did pick him up last game. From the CLG.EU side, we see an Urgot ban. That is, somewhat targeted at COP, but we see Urgot banned in almost all tournaments as well. And once again, a Malphite ban. So all bans against champions that actually were played last game by CLG.EU.
Yeah, well, a lot of the times these bans are just going to be about, as specific as possible. At the higher level you go in the game, obviously the more experience they have, and the more they're going to be banning very specifically. See things like Urgot, Vladimir, even Ryze are things you don't necessarily need to ban against a lot of teams. But if you know very specifically that they like to play it, that they like to run it, that they're very annoying, just go ahead and ban it. Now, of course, that leaves up some interesting things that aren't banned. Things like Shen. Got a small nerf on the ultimate. Is it enough? Is he still going to be very, very annoying? All kinds of things like that. These questions you have to figure out. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it anymore? And we'll have to see what kind of picks came out.
Right, and of course you mentioned that, and we do see, it looks like, well, Big Fat LP, who would be Froggen, but of course they'll swap that up, seems to be hovering over Shen, will likely lock that in. And on the other side, Alistar, and Alistar is another champion that we see almost always banned, for good reason, has really great level 2 ganks coming out of the jungle, has received some nerfs, his mana cost on his heal has been increased, his trample damage was reduced, so that does hurt his jungle a little bit, and I'm uncertain whether we're going to see him in the jungle or in bottom lane, but either way, he is an incredible champion to have because of that CC, can be so devastating for ganks and for late game team fights. So the timer is just ticking down. It looks like a Karthus is going to be the first pick, so relatively unusual to pick your AP champion so soon, but if you're going to play Karthus, I guess you're not really expecting to counter anyone, and I imagine you don't expect to be countered too hard, as you can really just sit back and passively farm with your Skittles or Red Dots or whatever you want to call them with that lay waste from his Q. So really great global presence team already from CLG.EU, Karthus and Shen.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is, we only have 2 picks so far over here. And we already have them. They're going to have a global presence no matter what. So far we have 4 picks. 3 of the 4 picks have global ultimates. That is how strong they are, and that is certainly something you've seen Riot looking more and more at, is, okay, well, these global ultimates, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. Or I should say extremely long-range ultimates in some cases, but, things like Twisted Fate and all that. But we're seeing a Morgana come out once again. Very, very strong pick so far. Everything that's kind of been picked so far is a little bit of a power champion, something that can influence the game as much as possible. You know, the only exception I would say is maybe something like a Janna instead of a Soraka is kind of a little bit more punchy as far as the supports go. You know, able to directly manipulate the fights a little bit more. But Soraka with that global presence is just so devastating to deal with.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And Soraka certainly tries to help counter Karthus, but I don't think is incredibly effective. And now that they've showed their hand with Soraka, will we see this Tristana pick in? Tristana's counter Soraka pretty well has that healing debuff from the explosive shot. And yeah, once again, a lot of people still confused in the chat. This is CLG.EU playing on CLG.NA accounts. They are playing against Curse NA. So now that we have, you know, CLGs and curses on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean, it gets a little bit confusing, but we will try to explain all of that. And the reason, though, Anivia pick was because she was banned prior to the game. We have 2 bans in chat, and it was Anivia and Veigar target against Froggen and ggClassic, respectively. So we do see actually Leona and Tristana, so that's going to be a very aggressive bottom lane.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Leona. You know, the more aggressive a support can be, the more I like it. I like the Alistairs, I like the Leonas. Leona kind of the king of the going in and I ain't stopping until something is dead, either me or you. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Especially with something like Tristana. So look for them to be very, very aggressive, very, very early. You know, that level 2 to level, let's say, 4 area of the game should be very, very exciting in the bottom of the map. I'm definitely going to be trying to keep my eye down there. But we do see, you know, a Soraka Ezreal lane. Very difficult to kill, very difficult to actually pin down that Ezreal long enough. But if they manage to combo very effectively, they're going to secure that kill on Ezreal, and the lane is going to become very difficult for them.
Yeah, I'll be interested in seeing how they decide their targets in bottom lane, because Soraka will be so much easier to burst down. Of course, isn't running heal herself, will have to heal herself, but can potentially be stun locked, and there is that range of, you know, level 2 to 4 that Tristana and Leona are going to be really strong, but also once they hit level 6, Leona has such long range engagement potential with her ultimate, and of course Tristana gets that extra burst from her ultimate as well. So we do see the final picks, Ezreal and ggClassic, picking up Jax, of course, that will likely be played top lane by Westrice. And now we have the final pick, which will actually be the top lane or jungler. They could actually take Shen in the jungle or put him in top lane, depending on how they feel he would match up against that Jax.
Yeah, and you know, that's part of the thing as well with something like a Shen pick, is you have a little bit of flexibility as far as as the picks are coming. Well, do you want to use them in the top lane? Do you want to use them in the jungle? You see that a lot with things like, you know, especially even Jax. Jax, he can go into the jungle, he can play that very aggressive ganking jungler, or he can go top and he can try to counter those kind of physical auto attack heavy champions as well.
Yeah, and the last pick looks to be Eve, which once again probably means that they do not have the champion, so that's a placeholder we will remake, unless Snoopy is going to come out with something really interesting, top lane or jungle Eve, but more likely than not, that is a placeholder, although there hasn't been a quick escape from the game as of yet.
Yeah, I don't think that the remake has snuck its way in without a patch, so we're going to have to go and assume. I didn't see, obviously we don't have access to the chat during that phase, so I'm not sure who they were actually picking in their steed. We will have to see in just a second here.
Yep. And oftentimes they tell us as a courtesy, it doesn't really make sense, or it's not really necessary. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Is that...
Oh, that's... Let's try this once again. Let's try this one more time.
Westrice is like, I'm playing Jax, so I should click on him first. Instead, he bans Jax. So, a little bit of a misstep there. Going to have to remake once more. We still don't know who the...
mystery pick.
Yeah, the mystery pick is. And they're asking best of 3? No, this is a best of 1. This whole day of the group stages is best of 1. Today is Group A, and we'll be carrying through this weekend, and into next weekend is the finals weekend, so stay tuned for us. Of course, we're also concurrently running 2 streams. ALNA versus Legion should be running on stream 2 at the present moment if you wanted to go check out that game. Legion, of course, had a very stellar game 1 against CLG.EU, which they did take in kind of resounding fashion. So we do see more usual bans here, not going to overstep anyone's on anyone's picks, and an Akali ban, which is relatively entertaining to me.
Yeah, well, you got to ban those ninjas out as much as you can. So we are going to finally see what the mystery pick here is in just a minute. I'm so excited. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
What is it going to be? We'll have to wait and see. Um, it looks like Snoopy is going to take Shen in the jungle, so we're waiting for a top lane pick from Wicked, and he is delaying it even further, 50 seconds, 48, letting it tick down, not locking in his champion. So too much fun for him to kind of make us wait here, and yeah, we're still held in suspense. Oh, and there it is.
The
What do you think
Rumble.
about that pick?
You know,
What do you think about
I,
that?
I feel like I've been seeing rumbles more and more lately, and I'm not sure what the motivation for that was exactly, but definitely feel like I've been seeing him more and more often as it's been going on. So we'll have to see how he actually performs. You know, it's not a bad matchup there in the top lane, but of course they're both kind of steamrolling. So if somebody happens to get some good jungle support early, if they happen to get a nice early kill or something like that, it's going to be very difficult for the person to go back to lane. We're going to have to see how the early game plays out in top. And again, you know, both top and bottom, I think, are going to be very action-packed lanes to kind of make up for the Morgana Karthus lane in the middle where there shouldn't be a terrible amount of action going on.
Yeah, there shouldn't be, but I'm always surprised. A lot of times, whenever I say it's going to be a farm fest and casting, it turns out that they'll go like balls deep every single time. They'll just go all the way in and just try to get kills off each other just to prove me wrong. So we'll see if that happens. Obviously, Morgana does have the potential to really get some kills on Karthus, but Karthus also could just stay so far back, and I don't think Froggen's going to misstep overly much. Rumble was actually played by Legion last game against Wicked, and Hanky was talking about how Rumble really hasn't caught on. Wicked played him a little bit, but he's not super big over on the European servers, which is unusual to me because I remember immediately after he was released, he was big on the European servers and not big over here until very, very recently. But he is a good pick. The interesting thing is he actually picked in response to a Jax pick, whereas I feel like Jax tends to be a pretty good matchup. Not a great matchup, but like you said, it can snowball either way, so it'll depend on who has more jungle presence up top. And
Mm-hmm.
Alistar has great potential to gank whether or not he has that red buff. He just has that pulverized headbutt combination, which can send you back towards your opposition in the lane, and that can be devastating. So that's how I see that might play out. On the same side, blue team does have kind of a disadvantage, I feel, for top lane ganks just because the red buff is so far away from them. Do you have any estimations on how gank heavy that jungle Shen is going to be?
Well, the problem is that Shen is just such a slow jungler. Now, thankfully, like you said, he is on that purple side. So if he wants to look to set up an early gank, he actually has the possibility. Very difficult for a blue Shen to actually do that. But we're going to have to see if he can be successful. You know, if he gets a nice, kind of taunt Vorpal Blade, he can at least get some harassment or something in there, but it's going to be difficult. Now, once he hits level 6, obviously, he's going to be doing a very good job of covering the entire map. He's going to be able to, really assist that bottom lane. So he wants to get it as quickly as possible. And the more time he spends messing around trying to gank top lane, the slower he's actually going to get to that level 6.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, he wants to get to that level 6 because then he can be roaming around his jungle and can still be a presence in every single lane, can just jump on in there, either, turn a 1v1 into a 2v1 or thwart any incoming ganks from that Alistar.
Mm-hmm. So again, it's really, I think that top lane is going to be just an area of contention. Both teams are going to want the advantage up there, and it's going to be very important to actually get it, try to secure it. A little bit harder probably for the purple team, but we're going to have to see what they can make happen. It's going to be a good matchup. I'm pretty excited for this one, Soder. Sotea.
Oh,
Sotea. I have to say your name with a French accent in order to pull it off, I feel.
Soter.
Sotea.
Yeah, well, like your name, I don't care how it's pronounced. There is no proper way to pronounce it. If I had my way, it would be pronounced completely different than everyone else says it rather. But yeah, this game should be exciting. Should be a lot of aggression. And the other thing bottom lane has going for them with CLG.EU is when they hit 6, they have great potential on their own, but they also have that additional card. This ultimate was nerfed. Not going to happen quite as frequently, but I'm sure CLG.EU can time it properly so that when Tristana jumps in, when Leona Zenith Blades in, they're going to get that additional help from Karthus, and that'll certainly be able to turn the tides in a fight down bottom,
Mm-hmm.
or simply pick up a kill. So that's something to be worried about if you are Curse. And at this point, really, that global presence, the Shen and the Karthus, which were the first 2 picks from CLG.EU, seem so very strong. So yes, very excited to get into Game 2 of this GG Classic, brought to you by Arcade.com. That's Arcade with a Q. A great site for any of your gaming question needs, not only for League of Legends, although they do not specialize in that, but they do have a wealth of information regarding League of Legends, but for all games, you can just head over there, ask questions. Of course, we also have contests running as we speak. If you sign up ask questions. There will be RP cards and I believe hardware given out to the lucky winners, and by luck I mean the people who answer and ask the appropriate questions with the greatest amount of detail. And we are into Screen Champion Select. Do you see any sort of advantage skin-wise?
There's four skins total. Longhorn Alistair is actually the best skin in the game. I don't know if you knew that or not, because he has an adorable little cowboy hat, and how can you beat that?
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to beat, and we do actually see a large number of non-skin champions.
Whoa.
Cop not running Pulsefire Ezreal, Morgana no skin there, and everyone on CLG.EU as well, skinless, except Leona, who is Defender Leona. So only 1 for 4 there, unfortunately, for CLG. We'll see if that affects their play at all.
Yes, and actually, I have to jump to live here. A little bit weird. The game starts me about 40 seconds behind for some reason, but that is okay because we are good to go. I think. Let me. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put on direct to camera real quick, and I'm going to close this program that's lagging the crap out of me.
We do see actually an early ward was placed in defense in the blue buff area. So blue buff was invaded by Curse, but CLG.EU did notice them coming in. So there are once again wards in that blue buff. If you saw the last game, it's very reminiscent of that in the sense that both teams have warded that upper purple blue buff. And once again, we have CLG.EU being just playing defensive on the outset, kind of taking that defensive European, position, hiding in the brushes, hiding in the entranceways, making sure that they're not invaded. They did, of course, ward the blue buff, but they're not going to head to it immediately. They're going to wait and see if Curse wants to make a move to counter that. And we'll see what their plan is coming from Curse, whether or not Alistar is going to make his way over to that blue buff and try to counter it, or whether they're going to just play a waiting game and that blue buff is going to sit a while with no action.
Yeah, it does look like not too much is going to happen here. We do see them clearing the wolves and taking their respective buffs. Of course, Shen going for that early red, and Alistair going for that early blue buff. Pretty standard. Pretty standard.
Yep. Pretty standard so far. Nothing too exciting. No kills down on the table. People are asking for your wallpaper for 1, and for 2, people are still a little bit confused. This is CLG.EU playing on CLG NA accounts because most of them do not have North American accounts, except for Snoopy, who is playing on his own account. One kind of not an incredibly important change that has. Oh, what's going on, Cumley?
Oh no, I'm trying to do the set up the name so people actually know who it is, and they're gigantic. Oh my goodness gracious.
No.
We're gonna do that later. We're gonna do that later.
Okay. We do see some aggression coming down on the blue buff. It looks like Snoopy Nose is coming in. It completely backs away. Did not have Smite ready, so did not want to give it up. And it looks like Curse is going to take this first blue buff, and it is going to go to Alistar. It looked like ggClassic was going to take it there with the Tormented Soil, but they didn't want to chance it. So St. Vicious did take it. So he has 2 blue buffs on him. Of course, they do not overlap, but they do refresh. So he has a freshly made blue buff on him. He is level 2, has not ganked. Instead, they were just going after that blue buff. Snoopy luckily backed away, knew everything was coming, and smartly removed himself from the area.
Yeah, that would have been very difficult for Karthus to deal with if Morgana had actually managed to pick it up. Of course, ggClassic playing that Morgana would have been able to push him all day and really been effective at kind of moving around the map. Karthus can have a little bit of a mana issue early if he's having to constantly push waves out against his tower. He can certainly spam, but it costs him quite a bit of mana. We do see, look at how far we have this Rumble pushed up here in the top lane, sitting right on top of the Jax.
And he might be in a little bit of trouble as St. Vicious does come up. Oh, that was a beautiful flash.
Yeah, looks like he's just barely going to get away, turn around to put a little bit more harassment on, doesn't quite connect with those javelins, and it looks like he's going to actually go ahead and use that as an opportunity to back. So right off the bat, we do see some very early aggression from that Alistair. Of course, his ganks are very devastating, but it looks like Rumble almost wanted to get as much CS as possible, as quickly as possible, before the Alistair would come up and be able to do that exact gank that just happened, so then he could just go ahead and back, rebuy, come out fresh to lane, and kind of reset the lane here in the middle, like you can see.
Yeah. But, I mean, he actually only did get 11 CS. He was a little bit ahead of Jack, so there must have been some, fighting going on there. Whereas Karthus, for instance, is actually all the way up at 29 CS, so 18 ahead of Rumble, but now Rumble's going to be able to have it pushed back towards his side, does not have Flash, does not have a really great escape, which is kind of one weakness of Rumble, but he did have a perfectly timed Flash there. It interrupted the Alistar combination, so Alistar was able to move forward with the headbutt, but the Pulverize did not land, and of course Rumble was able to get away scot-free, which is pretty impressive. They are playing with a little bit of lag, of course, CLG.EU is, but, you know, pretty stellar job so far. Good reaction time getting away from there. And down bottom lane, I've seen this more and more where there's not very many wards to protect the lane because they just don't expect ganks coming in. That is kind of the meta, and as soon as I say that, of course, Crepo puts down a ward in the bush. Maybe was a little bit afraid that Alistar might be roaming around. But yeah, overall, not an incredibly large presence of wards on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you always want to get by with as little as possible. If you can get by putting down no wards, you don't want to put a ward down. If you can get down putting one ward down, absolutely fantastic. You want to be as economical as possible. We do see that the pink ward here was put down by that Soraka, so now they have to play a little bit afraid. You know, they have that Alistar moving around, and his ganks are very, very strong. You see how well the timing was. He was coming into that brush almost immediately after the ward was actually killed.
Right, so they don't know that he's there, did just hit level 4, is kind of taking the experience, but I would not be surprised if CLG essentially knew that this was happening because, you know, Curse has been playing a little bit more aggressive because they cleared out that ward. They have to expect the gank to come in, and now, you know, Alistar actually did back out, didn't see an opening coming open to him, so he's just going to head back to base, but his, you know, his threat still lingers, so, you know, CLG.EU still has to be afraid that he might be in that bush. The one kind of issue with Tristana, and I think she's a great AD carry, scales so well into late game, she does kind of push the lane up because of that explosive shot, so that might be an issue. Right now, Cop from Curse is really just pushing the lane pretty aggressively, so it's not an issue, but wow, Crepo tries to go in, just kind of forces everyone back, so that's going to be an issue. This is, of course, once again, CLG.EU, Crepo on Chowster's account.
Yeah, probably the most confusing thing in the universe. We do see a little bit of action up here on West Rice, going to flash away from that Rumble and be fine. We do see a lot of action here bottom as well. Cop taking a lot of damage as well as Liquid. Liquid is going to go down first, but then Shoshana is going to fall. 2 for 1, unfortunately. Going to go down. We do see a death up here top as well. Oh my god, yes. Jack's going down.
Yep, Jax got really low for Rumble. I don't know actually how it came to be that Jax was level 4 to Rumble's level 6, but certainly that level disparity was an issue. Did get, you know, chunked down, and then Karthus just finished off the deal with his ultimate there, and the ultimate served a dual purpose. So really great timing from CLG.EU, being able to use the ultimate to to affect top lane and bottom lane at the same time.
Yeah, that's how powerful Karthus is. That's why he needed a little bit of a nerf, so he can only do that a little bit less often than he used to be able to. But you see that global presence just coming out so strong, and the 2 for 1 on the bottom lane is very, very dangerous now because they have to come back to lane and they're a little bit behind. It's going to be a little bit more uncomfortable now, and that's how lane snowballs. So they have to be very, very careful not to give up additional kills at this point.
Right, and you know, Tristana wasn't even level 6. Now, when Leona comes back, is level 6. They're going to have so much more burst that Curse is going to have to be really careful about. And really, that fight was a 2 for 1, but it was almost a 2 for 0. Just at the last second, it looked like Tristana flashed out of there, but did get caught by the last auto attack. Would have been safe otherwise. So unfortunate there for CLG.EU. Could have been a straight 3 for 0. But everything seemed to be going pretty well for them. Rumble now kind of dominating top lane against that Jax. Level 7 to level 5 did get that assist, and as far as farm goes, actually 49 to 21. So that is a ridiculous amount of farm at this level of play.
Yeah, we do also see bottom. We see Ezreal quite a bit ahead of Tristana on that CS. Of course, the kill as well as the assist can even that up a little bit for Tristana, but you know she has to be careful. We have a very early phase on Ezreal. If he manages to get one of those proxies, game will put out a tremendous amount of harassment. So they always have to be looking for those. We do see a Morgana ultimate here in mid onto Big Fat, but not a Big Fat. But I don't think it's going to be enough. We do see Shed coming in here as well. Morgana in a very dangerous position. Yeah, going to be able to get that taunt. And Morgana just going to go ahead and get out of dodge as quickly as possible.
Yeah, the one thing is, Shen, like you said earlier, a little bit of a slower jungler. Actually did just pick up 6 just from hanging out middle, so caught up to Alistar in levels, but hasn't had a really great presence thus far in the game. Now he can jump around, and of course every single lane will be a little bit safer. Perhaps we'll see some even more aggressive play by Rumble. There's actually no ward for Wicked top, so he's going to be caught unawares by this Alistar gank. Oh man. And there's action going down everywhere.
Oh man. Oh man, yeah, we do see Shen ulting in here top as well, going to try to save his Rumble. Is it going to be enough? Rumble is very, very low right now. He uses that flash to try to get away, and Shen in there trying to do a little bit of work on Jax, but going to have to run away, and it looks like nothing is actually going to come from that. So again, you see how powerful that Shen ultimate is. Not getting a counter kill, but at least preventing a death on that very, very snowbally top lane.
Yeah, that was crazy. I thought Rumble was in a terrible position, was all the way at the turret. Westrice was at full life on Jax. It seemed like it was going to be a terrible, terrible fight, and then Shen was just able to come in and save him. Did have to flash to, preserve his life, but Rumble doing a great job there top. And everything really going incredibly well for CLG.EU. And if it gets to a point where Alistar's ganks are not strong enough to kill someone, it's going to be an issue for Curse. If, his presence there and his extra CC just doesn't get the job done, then obviously the global presence from CLG is going to shine, and those Karthus ultimates are going to wreak havoc. And he does have it up once again. Obviously Shen ultimate is down, but I suspect we'll see more action bottom lane when Tristan and Leona return. Karthus can also help them out with his ultimate, and maybe we'll see once again some dual action with some aggression top and some aggression bottom at the same time. CLG did a splendid job at that last time.
Yeah, we do also see a very early, well not a very, a moderately early Oracles here on Shen. Alistar not having the Oracles to match him quite yet, so they're going to have a little bit of a map positioning advantage here. Shen going to be able to move around, going to be able to clear out as many wards as possible, make Curse feel as comfortable as he can. Right now I'm clearing out a fairly fresh ward here top, and the fresher the ward, the more glorious the kill, of course. So Shen just going to go ahead and kill that and walk away immediately, make that Jax comfortable.
Yeah, he is uncomfortable. He is also 2 levels down, and he does not feel like he can trade with Rumble at this point, and he certainly cannot. Rumble's just kind of zoning him out, and the lane is pressing a little bit towards Rumble's way. We'll eventually swap up directions here, so Jax might be able to get some farm, but Rumble's also been very happy just to push it to the turret and force Jax to farm underneath the turret while, getting hit by that flame spitter.
Doing a little bit of work. We did not actually see Rumble do anything like rush a gun or anything like that. Doesn't really need that spell vamp super early. Kind of content to get some health pots. He's not getting harassed too much there by the Jax. And you see how heavy he is ahead in CS. Wants a little bit more HP to get away from those ganks and things like that. Prioritizing a little bit different than kind of your cookie cutter Rumble build.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's going to be a haunting guise, and if he's just going to, try to maximize his early game presence. He does get ganked here. Alistar with that headbutt polarized combo, but Shen is coming in. They're going to have to dive. Oh, it is enough for them to pick up the kill, though.
Yeah, Shen going to try to pick up some kind of counter kill here with the Karthus ultimate as well, but just not enough. 2 fairly high HP targets that were pretty much full at that dive, and just the Rumble ultimate was not doing enough to kind of bring them into that danger zone, so to speak. And so they were able to get that kill basically for free.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate. And Rumble does build that, Ruby Crystal into a Haunting Guise, so going for that incredibly high penetration build, but not incredible amounts of defense or sustain. We'll see if he's still able to push around Jax now that Jax got that little bit of an advantage, got that kill pickup. And Shen was actually really nearby, so I'm surprised that he wasn't able to counter that. I think they knew that was coming, and yet still just was a little bit delayed, and the damage from Jax and Alistar was a little bit too much. So certainly a good pickup for Curse. They are down still about 1,300 gold, 2 kills, but the game is just kind of not going slowly. The game is relatively passive compared to last game where there were 3 kills in 3 minutes, and then it just was crazy from there. We do see a good Zenith blade down bottom, but even when you catch Ezreal, he can just shift out of there, which he does. So Ezreal's not really the target you want to go on. If you can catch that Soraka, that would be their choice.
Yeah, absolutely. You see immediately Soraka healing him right back up to full as well. So not too much happening here. We do see Shen going in as well with this Rumble onto Westrice up here. Action here bottom as well. Cop taking a lot of damage and going to be able to get kicked off. Jax looks like he is going to be able to just barely escape. It's going to be close. Looks like they are going to go for the dive here. Not afraid of the tower. Going to be able to get that taunt off and finish off the Jax and get out scot-free.
Right. That was good. They also wasted the Ignite from Jax, and Rumble actually didn't have his Equalizer up. It comes up right at the end of that fight. So that was another, portion of the dive. They both had their ultimates coming up or up. And now actually, did Rumble just use his ultimate to clear out that wave? I
Look,
believe he
sometimes
did.
you gotta punish some creeps for standing around like they own the place, okay?
Apparently you do. Oh man, yeah. So bottom lane actually able to pick up a kill as well without the assistance from Karthus. Karthus' ultimate will be up, probably by the time bottom lane gets back in there, and Shen's ultimate is up. So now there's so much pressure just all around the map coming from CLG.EU. Certainly, Curse is in a difficult position here where none of their lanes are really winning. Morgana staying even in farm with Karthus, but Karthus picked up a kill and an assist with his ultimate earlier on, and the farm in other places just going very far in favor of CLG.EU or even. Bottom lane is actually even. Cop has been doing a good job, actually staying ahead in farm just a little bit, despite the fact that he is, actually fallen down 3 times already.
Yeah, and we have seen Ezreal is going for that very early Triforce, and when he picks that up, we're going to have to see if he's able to have a much larger presence. He really wants to kind of match that burst damage of the Tristana team. The Triforce is going to help him kind of do that a little bit, going to make him a little bit more beefy as well compared to something like Infinity Edge, obviously. And so definitely wants to be a little bit bulky in that mid game. Kind of punish Tristana for that weak mid game she's so very famous for.
Uh-oh, we're going to see a lot of action top as well.
Yeah, Westeros in a very bad position here. I don't foresee him actually being able to get away. We do have the Rumble ultimate coming up very, very shortly.
Ooh, that leap strike.
Yeah, you have to question that use of it. Of course, we have a Karthus ultimate coming in. Gotta take care of that Jax. Looks like St. Vicious in a very dangerous position here, trying to get a counter kill or something on Shen. We do see the Rumble ultimate coming up, but gonna miss. And Alistair gonna go ahead and walk away.
Yeah, I think they felt like they had that kill secured, thought that Equalizer was going to finish the job. It did not, but of course, Snoopy did have to back out. Oh, down middle, we do see the ultimate coming out from Nijaki, but Shen ultimate coming in to save Karthus, and now the tides have turned, and Nijaki's in a little bit of trouble here.
Oh yeah, we see once again the power of that Shen. We do have Exhaust coming out onto Morgana as well. They're going to be able to pick that kill. That is another kill for Frog in here, playing that Karthus. Once again, for those of you just joining us, this is of course CLG.EU playing on CLG.NA accounts, so you have to translate appropriately between roles and players.
Yeah, they are all playing in the same roles as they usually would. We do see the Ezreal ultimate coming across Dragon, but that Dragon almost certainly is going to be picked up by CLG.EU, so 6 kills in their lead, and now the Dragon, the purple team has slain the Dragon, new spectator mode tells us, and Karthus doing a really good job middle lane. Not only was it a kill on Morgana, but it was an exchange of blue buffs in Froggen's favor, so that's also a big deal.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. We do see double oracles now. We do them both on Alistair and Shen. So they're both going to try to get as much map positioning as possible. They both want to have those little advantages. And even if you only have a 1 or 2 ward advantage, 1 or 2 spots on the map, it can really change your confidence levels in farming. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to your ability to really farm your lane, whether that be champion kills or, of course, those very, very important creep kills. So every little advantage is going to count.
Yeah, absolutely. Down bottom, I'm really impressed by Ezreal's ability to farm, despite the fact that he's been under siege the entire time by Leona and Tristana. Has given up 3 kills, but stayed even in farm, and is going that Trinity Force build. We'll see if he's going to be able to turn it around late game. Obviously, they're going to need a lot from him to really help out their side, as they are 6 kills down, and they didn't really have a the ability to even contest that Dragon. We'll see what happens here. The other thing CLG.EU has going in their favor is they have a pretty good Baroning team with Karthus especially on their side, whereas Curse doesn't. I don't know. They have Jax, who's really great at it, but Morgana's not particularly stellar, and neither is Ezreal. So we do see Alistar moving in top. Was just going to come through the lane to gank. Does not get it pulled off that time. Was probably hoping from a Leaf Strike stun coming down from Rust Strikes. Did not happen. And now Rumble is going to ward up his lane as well. So we'll be a little bit safer there. His build, it's really interesting. Sorcerer Shoes, Haunting Guise, and then a Negatron Cloak. So all aggressive, and then picking up that defensive magic resistance as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. He's probably going Abyssal Scepter with that build. It's not necessarily the standard build. He doesn't seem too afraid of Jax. Of course, Jax is going to do a mixed amount of damage between physical and magic, but he is pretty much dominating that lane so far, and it looks like they are going to go down on him. They do have Shen there. ready to jump in. And the wish does come down from Soraka. Not going to make too big a difference. And actually, St. Vicious wants to continue the battle, but CLG is going to just walk away, be unscathed. And Morgana is going to come up, probably feeling there's going to be an extra dive on this turret, but it looks like CLG is content to back off, and Karthus is going to continue, stealing the jungle and might even head bottom here. It looks like he is going to head bottom. The combination from CLG.EU does miss, unfortunately, but now they're going to have a lot of help coming up here.
Yeah, we do see the dive commencing here on bottom. Caught taking a lot of damage very, very quickly. He is going to get absolutely dissolved here, trying to just put out as much damage as he can, trying to get some kind of counter kill. You see the very nice hop away there by Tristana as well, just going to make sure nothing shady is going to be happening to her, and they get a very easy kill. So something else that we didn't really talk about, Nani Jackie so far on this Morgana, essentially every ultimate that has been used on Karthus in mid and hasn't netted him a kill. And that's very important to note, because when Morgana is roaming, if he manages to catch an ultimate on two people bottom or something like that, it can be very devastating, very difficult to deal with. And it's just not happening, because he's consistently trying to use it to kill that Karthus. Really, really, really wants to get those early kills on Karthus, and they're just not happening. And so the ultimates are essentially fizzling away into nothing, and that's a little bit painful here for the blue team.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good strategy on his part to try to kill that Karthus. It just hasn't worked out. It looked like one time he was going to pick up a kill, and then Shen ultimated it in, so he didn't take that into account.
Yeah.
And really, besides that, both of the middle champions have been farming really well, have been putting pressure on. We do see Nijaki pick up that turret, which is kind of just a sign that he's been pushing Karthus back to his turret the entire time, just throwing down those tormented soils. So in that sense, his strategy worked out, but like you said, he hasn't been able to help out bottom lane at all, and bottom lane's needed help. Hasn't been able to roam top very much. Did roam top, didn't really pick anything up. That would have been very helpful for the team as well. And we do see picking up that Abyssal Scepter, which I really like. I think, almost all AP champions really like. Oh, wow, does land a very nice Dark Binding there. But, isn't going to have the team presence that they would if they built an early Zonias, for instance. Still has to worry about if he goes into the battle, he might get instantly exploded. Especially, Tristana already has that Infinity Edge. It's about 20 minutes in the game, so yeah, pretty standard to have the Infinity Edge by now, but also does have that 3 kills lined up. And we see Leona being very ballsy, running into the jungle, but is able to get out. So right now, CLG.EU feeling very confident, 6,000 gold in the lead, which is a large margin this early on.
Yeah, and we have seen quite a few item pickups coming out here. Still a little bit of action going down here in the blue team's jungle. Looks like they are finally going to fall back. We saw the Zonia's pick up here on Karthus. We just see an Ionic Spark on Shen. Going to give him a little bit of a counter-pushing presence, so to speak. Now he's going to be able to actually effectively push lanes. Something that's kind of a weakness of Shen as he's trying to do those counter pushes. So that Ionic Spark, something we've seen a little bit more and more. I wouldn't call it necessarily a common pickup, but something we've certainly seen, especially when they tend to be doing very, very well.
Yeah, well, I believe got a little bit of a buff last patch, and Wits End got a nerf, a couple patches ago. So certainly the, favor of, items for players and, pro players and regular players alike has been moving towards that Ionic Spark. I've seen it picked up by, the likes of Warwick, and I've actually seen kind of interesting builds where they pick up Ionic Spark and Wits End, which of course can be good, but it certainly always has seemed like a champion or an item made for Shen, just because it allows him to split push better, gives him the health, which synergizes with his kit very well, and he of course needs it to clear the jungle faster. So there's a lot of things going for it. Now that it's slightly more cost efficient, we'll see it picked up more and more in competitive play most likely. So we do see the next dragon coming up very shortly. Looks like CLG.EU already there. The Flame Spitter comes out from Rumble before it even spawns, and then tags that dragon. And he's like, I actually don't want to tank this. So they continue going down, kill that dragon, and extend their gold lead by even more. So certainly huge advantage. They don't have great coverage on Baron, so that's something they'll probably want to pick up relatively soon here. But besides, the lack of coverage there, they have an Aegis already on Leona. They have the Abyssal Scepter on Rumble. They have the Zonias on Karthus. They're really, already hyped up, ready to go for, any sort of team fight. Picking up those aura items and picking up items, such as that Zonias that are really going to help their AP carries have a great presence.
Yeah, well, one of the big problems is that Tristana has a weak mid-game. That's kind of her downfalls in AD carry. Very strong, very early game, puts out a lot of burst damage. Late game, extraordinarily strong 6-item carry, right? Is able to have that huge range, the fantastic reposition, and is able to pump out a lot of damage. And this is the sweet spot for they're doing fantastic. A 3-1-3 Tristana, 184 CS in here at the about the 24-minute mark, and so they're going to be able to translate to the late game almost guaranteed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there is certainly a question of Tristana's mid game that's, you know, everyone views it as weak. I think the issue is mainly that in lane, you're really using your rocket jump as a great offensive ability. And, you know, obviously it's leveled up to 5 already, and it was probably leveled up before rapid fire. But as you get into late game, you can't use it offensively, or you just completely get blown up. She actually has stellar steroids, you know, even now. She has a 90% attack speed bonus for 7 seconds. That synergizes, of course, really well with that Infinity Edge. So I think her weak mid game might be more of a myth than actual truth. We actually see, is that 2 oracles coming from... Yeah, we actually have 2 oracles on CLG.EU now. Shen wasn't doing a good enough job of clearing all the wards, so ggClassic picked up one as well on Leona, and is just roaming around and just killing wards. That seems to be all they're doing.
Well, you see just how far apart the Shen and the Leona are right now, right? So that having that global oracle's presence is going to be very, very strong for their team, especially if they manage, you know, to keep just kind of split pushing on that Shen and have the Leona play that role. We do see the binding actually hitting that Leona, but nothing going to follow up from there.
And that's actually the second time ggClassic has taken a binding in the face for clearing out those wards, but is actually making a lot of money. He's been walking back and forth, and they actually should have a stat that is like wards killed, because he's picked up quite a few in the last couple of minutes. That Oracle's almost paid for itself. Oh my goodness, Nijak, he does get caught, has to burn the flash, gets away from the ultimates of ggClassic, but and now there is no coverage on this Baron, and they're going to be able to do it really fast. There's pings going down. Shen, of course, can teleport in with his ultimate with Stand United. If there is any aggression, it looks like Curse is going to come in and see this happening, and they're probably going to need Shen to come in with a smite.
Oh, a lot of damage coming out here. So Westbride's jumping into the middle of all of them, getting a huge stun, followed by that Morgana ultimate, doing absolute work. Going to be able to set up at least 1 kill, probably 2 here on the Karthus, finally going down. We do see Hotshot, not Hotshot, GG, fairly low. Oh, it's so hard to talk in team fights. We do see the Karthus ultimate coming out, but not going to be able to secure too much. We do see Shen coming in here. Looks like they are going to be able to secure the kill on Cop. Oh, he's just barely going to get away with... No.
Nope, they had that Ignite still on him.
Ignite, just
I'm
enough
not sure
damage.
if it was Ignite or Explosive Shot. It was actually Explosive Shot. The Ignite has not been used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now Morgana in a dangerous position. You know, if the Shen is able to get any kind of taunt on her, she is going to go down to Tristana. But it looks like they are going to go ahead and take that. Of course, 2 kills to 4, I think it was. Soraka certainly went down at some point there, right?
I thought so as well. Yeah, must have gone down to the ultimate from Karthus. So yeah, I'm pretty certain she went down. But yeah, certainly another good fight for CLG.EU, and I thought that was going to go terribly wrong, but Froggen actually Zonias at the last second. Like, I thought he was just going to die, and I was like, oh, you have Zonias, why are you using it? And then right before he died, used it, so he got that extra defile for a couple more seconds on the opposing team, and then of course when he was dead, he was still able to kill. So really good show. You know, despite the fact that CLG.EU got chunked down pretty hard by that Baron, they were still able to turn around and have the team fight in their favor, have a 6,000 gold lead, and I suspect that they'll just be heading back to Baron again, clear out the wards there, and go to town. Of course, unfortunately for Leona, there's no more Oracle on her, but they still have one on Shen, so we'll see. He's been very aggressive in the split pushing bottom. That seems to be their strategy, have Shen split push bottom, and they can stand united back towards the top. But now that he is the only Oracles, he's the only one that can actually put pressure on Baron as well.
Yeah, well, you saw Ezreal have to run all the way from bot lane and move his butt to get to that Baron as quickly as possible. He was able to make it essentially just in enough time, but, you know, that team fight just didn't... It started going absolutely fantastic for Curse, you know. The CLG.EU team, and again, for those of you that are just joining us, this is CLG.EU playing on the NA accounts, which is the most mind-blowing thing I've ever attempted to cast in team fights ever. Oh my god, just apologize for all the missed calls I'm going to be making, calling people Big Fat and Hotshot. And they were all fairly low, and they managed to get a very nice Dark Binding on a couple of very low targets. You know, we did see that Karthus was able to get the Zonias off at the last second before he actually went down, but it was kind of not the ideal start, but in the neighborhood of the ideal start, and it still was able to turn around just because of how much farm advantage they have over there on CLG.EU at the moment. It's going to be very difficult for them to actually secure a very nice team fight kill at this point, I feel.
Yeah, I feel similarly, and yeah, that lead is just, it's not insurmountable, but it's just very troubling for Curse, and at some point, you know, obviously CLGU tried to kind of push their advantage there by taking down that Baron, but I figure they're going to do it again. Leona actually has picked up another Oracle, so they're going to put more pressure on it. Certainly they want to force a fight. They know they're, you know, incredibly strong. Shen is going to head back bottom. They're going to, you know, kind of make Curse decide, oh, do we want to send someone down to, you know, deal with Shen, who's actually getting pretty strong now, has, you know, the workings towards Randowin's Omen and an Iota Spark, or do we have to all stay up top and worry about this Baron? And I think as they found last fight, they really have to all be present at Baron to ensure that it's not done.
Yeah, the Baron's going to be super important, and like you said, you know, can Ezreal even make it up to Baron at the time? You know, that's part of the strength of Shen, particularly is forcing these Barons. You know, when Baron is not up, they won't have that same kind of pressure, so it almost favors them a little bit to actually have Baron up instead of actually taking it, because at this point they're forcing Curse to make very important decisions. Do you give them an entire extra lane of farm, or do you go and try to pressure him? And when Baron's not up, they don't really have that same kind of pressure.
Yeah, but that being said, if CLGU takes Baron, they're certainly going to be able to just push down turrets. I think with the lead they've already, you know, gained, if they have a Baron in addition to that, they'll certainly just be able to tower dive at whenever they want.
Absolutely.
At any sort of whim that they have, because they have a great tower diving team. Karthus can just jump in there and Zhonya's in. Obviously Leona can tank with her W, just a little bit more than most supports can. So yeah, we're still playing this game, same old game. Wards are being dropped. You know, Crepo playing on Chowster's account is clearing up a lot of the wards, getting a lot of money, and Shen is just busy pushing bottom. It looks like Curse is going to, you know, push up middle and then perhaps try to catch out CLG.EU, but I don't know that they want to fight where, you know, CLG.EU isn't already damaged from Baron.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to try to do something here. They want to at least try to get this push on the middle tower. We do see them positioning here for the team fight. A very nice wall by Karthus, but he gets caught by a binding. A lot of damage going to be poured out to him. We do see the Shen ultimate coming out. A lot of damage coming out from the Equalizer as well. Restwise getting very, very low. Going to jump out. The Ignite should be able to take him down just barely. We do see him go down right there. A lot of damage coming out from this Karthus as well. Alice are going to try to secure the kill on him. It looks like Karthus going to do a nice job of kiting. Oh, very good kill there by the Karthus. A lot of action here going down middle as well as they try to chase it down. Ultimate coming out from Karthus just to kind of get them low, I guess. Not want them to be able to interrupt this Baron attempt that is going to come out right now. And it should be a very nice, kind of easy-ish kill here on Baron for CLG.EU.
Yeah, and I would think at this point, you know, Ezreal could potentially jump on in there and harass them a little bit, but without sight. Obviously, CLGU has those two oracles there. There's no sight. It was just too dangerous for him to walk into any brush, I think is the issue he has at this point. So they're just going to let that Baron go. So it's going to be 16-4, a 10,000 gold lead, and a Baron. And I feel like at this point, CLG.EU can tower dive with impunity. I think they can just go in there and, you know, with their new items that they're going to buy here, Tristana picking up her Phantom Dancer, Shen picking up a Wit's End, so he actually is going in that build, Ionic Spark and Wit's End, and will also build into a Randowin's Omen eventually. It doesn't look like he has enough gold for it quite yet, but he's just going to be beastly, attacking very fast, and we'll see if, you know, they try to be, I don't know if the word is tricky in the sense that they're going to split push lanes with Shen, or if they're just going to try to, you know, overpower Curse and just, you know, go to town on them at, you know, one specified location. Perhaps mid turret would be kind of the choice place to take now.
Yeah, we do see that Deathcat picked up here on Karthus. We did a lot of really nice item pickups coming up here. You see how much armor they actually have over here on CLG.EU. So we saw that a little while ago. Ezreal was basically kind of forced to pick up a Last Whisper if he wanted to do any damage in team fights. You know, really had to go directly towards that armor reduction, and it's just not what he wants to build that early. You know, he wants to build more damage. He wants to be kind of snowbally and ahead, or at least even, so that he can build what he wants, but just kind of forced into that Last Whisper pickup.
Yeah, and we saw Shen coming top lane, and just the level disparity was just, you know, so greatly. Oh, we actually see some action in the middle, so I won't get too big into the levels in excitement there. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That damage on Soraka is going to be able to take her down. I was like, oh, you might not want to jump in there. Does jump in, does pick up the kill. Yeah, But as I was saying, Shen was actually level 17 compared to the level 13 of Alistar, who is his jungle counterpart, and the level 15 of Jax. So when you have your jungle 2 levels ahead of a solo, you know that the game is going well for you. And that, of course, in part is because Shen can split push and is going to continue to split push as we're speaking now.
Yeah, not too afraid. Looks like they are going to put as much damage as they can on him. He is going to try to...
He's actually 1v2ing top.
Yeah, and we do see the Karthus ultimate coming out. Gonna be enough to get the kill on Westrice, and now Alistar forced to go ahead and run away. We do see the Wits End Ionic Spark that we mentioned earlier here on the Shen. Gonna make his split pushing so powerful, and make his team fight strong as well, as we just saw there. His kind of skirmish fighting, I should say. 2v1, not afraid of anything. We do see initiation here as well on Jackie on this Morgana. Uses her Zonias, but not going to be enough to actually make her live. Tristana coming in to pick up the easy kill.
Right, so yeah, this one seems to be just about in the book. I mean, there's always a chance to come back in any sort of game, but they are 13,000 gold ahead. They still have this Baron. They are being pretty aggressive here. The Zonias is used to drop tower aggro from Karthus, but now Chowster has it. Oh, and Soraka going to go down again in an unstoppable Rumble and a, I don't know, very dominant Tristana with the double kill there. And now 8-1, 5-1, 7-1, and the good games are coming out. We might see a surrender, or we might see them finish the game. Not certain which one will happen, but certainly I think Curse feels like the game is over. Was a very good game, but CLG.EU, did kind of, I guess it was kind of a upset, quote unquote, to lose to Legion in the first match today, but really they had everything working on all cylinders this game. They got that advantage of that global presence, and they used it splendidly, and are taking this second game of the day.
Yeah, GG well played by both teams, and looks like we're going to be moving on to the next series of matches here in a little bit. And yeah, it was a very fun game to watch.
Yeah, it was an incredible game. Good to see that the ping didn't really seem to negatively affect CLG.EU in that game, and really, they played great throughout, and they actually played well in the first game too. Their farm was good. It was just Legion that had a couple of moments that they invaded. They got an early advantage, and the one thing that I kept on wanting to mention, but I didn't throughout the course of the game, was the Frozen Heart pickup by Rumble. How exciting is that pickup? Of course, Rumble does not use mana. That item gives 500 mana, but he just picked it up for the aura. And I guess you could say, oh, that's kind of a trolly-ish build, but actually, Frozen Heart is such a great item. I feel like someone on your team should have it. And since they had a Shen in the jungle and a Rumble up top, the two kind of bruiser champions don't use mana. They still wanted the item. So I would love to hear from them whether or not that was a very serious pickup, if we'd see that again coming from Wicked, if they feel like that Frozen Heart is so essential that they have to pick it even on a manaless champion, or if they just felt like the game was already in hand and therefore picked it up.
Well, let's call it a snowbally pickup. How about that? It's a snowbally pickup. If you're so far ahead that you really can afford to get the pure utility of the Frozen Heart, it certainly is a good pickup to have for your team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Easy peasy.
Oh, and we were asked to take screenshots of the victory screen. Are you still on there by any chance?
About that, no.
Okay, actually, I think I've solved our problem. I'm actually watching our stream at the same time, and it's still back there.
Oh,
so
glorious.
I'm going to take a screenshot of the past. Yes, awesome. Okay. Done and done.
We've done
so good at following directions.
Oh,